The latest episode of The Owl House just aired, the second to last episode of the entire series, so there's a lot to discuss here, not just in this video, but in future ones this week, so please hit that subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss it. Now, perhaps the greatest reveal in this episode was what kind of Palisman Luz was going to have. This mystery dates back really to the beginning of the show, when we first saw Ida's Palisman and fans speculated what kind of staff Luz might end up with Ida promising in episode 2 to one day give her one. Popular theory said that Luz's Palisman was a snake, with there even being evidence for this in the title of the show, and while this technically did end up being the case, it was what Luz referred to as a snake shifter, with the snake being its natural form, and it shifting into whatever other creatures it wanted, not being limited to a single animal like all the other Palisman. This reflects Luz's personality better than any snake really could, or any other animal for that matter, because of how adaptable Luz is. Luz is a character of infinite potential, she could become anything, and the snake represents this perfectly. We've got a lot more to break down, including how King can defeat the Collector, but real quick, I want to talk about the sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh. HelloFresh has the most delicious and natural foods delivered to your door at 25% cheaper than takeout, and they even beat grocery store prices. You can get all the ingredients you need to make one of over 35 recipes that they have each week, such as their sesame soy pork bowl, their ancho barbecue burger, and their fully loaded pork taquitos. The recipes are constantly updating, and they even have a New Year's menu to get you out of your post-holiday slump and start the new year feeling fresh. They have a variety of various meal sizes, they have carb smart and calorie smart options, you can adjust the side dishes or change portion sizes in the meals now, and even order snacks and desserts for yourself or an upcoming game day party. I've used HelloFresh before and loved the variety I was able to bring into my home because of them. And now that Hailey has tried them too, she loves how she can get a restaurant quality recipe and still be able to switch out or customize the little details to her liking. All of this has made HelloFresh a perfectly customizable food shopping experience where you know you're getting quality ingredients for the exact recipes you need from farm to your door in just 7 days. You can start the new year and the new you by going on over to HelloFresh.com and using coupon code CartoonUniverse21 for 21 free meals plus free shipping at checkout. Again, that is 21 free meals and free shipping at HelloFresh.com when you use coupon code CartoonUniverse21 at checkout. The most recent episode of The Owl House did a lot to explain not just the connection between Titans and Collectors, but the history of this world as a whole. The episode opened with Luz and the gang returning to the Demon Realm to find the Boiling Isles seemingly abandoned and strangely transformed. While investigating at Bonesboro, the Collector's magic turns it into a playset, upon which the citizens of the Boiling Isles, now toys, must act out exactly what he wants for his game of pretend. Pretend is not something the Collector seems to enjoy very much, as he has a fixation on winners and losers, with unfortunate bad fates for the losers, and with him being some godlike being that is always everyone else but him. The entire game is something that King convinced the Collector to play as a sort of distraction. This game, called The Owl House, is just a shadow of Luz's story. It's turning mortals into toys that seems to be part of why he is called the Collector, and he even stores the mortals in what he calls the collection room. However, there is an even deeper origin for this name as well. After returning to the Collector's castle, he asks King to read him a bedtime story from a large book set on the Collectors as a whole. In this, it's explained that the Collector is just one of many Collectors. These immortal beings live so long that they've witnessed the beginning and end of many things, even living species, and they took it upon themselves to start collecting examples of every specimen they could in order to preserve them, so they may never fade, as the text says. This book is written from the point of view of the Collectors, and it explains that if any of the mortals they try to preserve may meddle in the affairs of the Collectors, then they shall destroy the entire planet, even scorching the air so nothing can breathe. The Collector apparently scratched this part out, however, and instead wrote in a note about how he should instead make friends, and that the others, as in the other Collectors, stink. It would appear that the Collectors can be just as destructive as this child, but with the intent of protecting themselves and their system of preservation, but this Collector rebelled, and is almost like a fallen angel. In the book, we see an image of the Collectors being worshipped by human-like beings, indicating that despite the fact that they would destroy entire planets, they were something of gods to many of the people who interacted with them. All around the castle, we find paintings that continue to tell us the story of the Collector. For instance, in one hall, we can see that this Collector was in fact a sort of child compared to the others who were focused on the development of planets, and at some point seemed to be cast out by the others. Among the imagery we see planets aligning, as well as falling stars, a symbol that seems very associated with the Collector. The Titans appear in paintings on the wall as well, filling in some interesting details. In other borrowed books, Lilith explains that the Titans' power is actually able to fight against the Collectors. Because of this, Lilith says that the predecessors of the Collector wiped them out, which I found odd, as I imagine it was something that our little Collector did as part of thinking he was playing games with all of them. The Titans seemingly evolved not just to protect themselves from Collectors, but perhaps to protect the smaller demons and sentient beings that appear to grow on Titans and worship them. The Collectors are godlike beings, selecting life to save, but seemingly wiping out any civilization that becomes advanced enough to interact with them. The Titans thus evolved over time to fight back against the Collector's powers for cleaning planets and scorching the air, with this perhaps being why the Demon Realm is such a harsh environment to begin with. There appears to be no natural land masses, for instance, and instead just one giant boiling ocean. This giant boiling ocean I imagine to be a punishment of the Collectors for whatever life existed before, or an attempt to actually wipe out the Titans themselves. But instead, the Titans would use their own dead bodies to become the land that all of these witches and demons would end up living on. However, it may be the lower life forms that the Titans create that were their ultimate undoing. In one painting in the Collector's Castle, we see the tradition of humans hunting Titans in various sizes and wearing their skulls. This was something we saw a lot of back in Season 2 when King and Luz went to a distant dead Titan and met a cult of people who worshipped the Collector. Our Collector appears to be friends with Titans, as evidenced by the paintings of him with baby Titans, so my theory is that Lilith is correct and that the other Collectors tried to wipe out the Titans, but had to convince the lower life forms of the Titans to hunt on their behalf, since the Collectors themselves were generally weak to them. The witches of the Boiling Isles are small, but they seem to have been able to hunt Titans of many sizes, and their worship of Collectors likely goes back long before our Collector that they were trying to help restore. With this information, Lilith believes it's possible for them to find a way to defeat the Collector, if not just seal him away again, but King has decided that that isn't enough, and they need a permanent solution to the Collector problem, as he doesn't want to risk him escaping again and causing even more havoc after betrayal from King. The Collector was seen in some paintings coming down to play with baby Titans, as I explained, something I was a bit surprised about since he can apparently even kill a full-grown Titan like King's father, while still thinking they are just playing a game, and the Titans of course evolved to fight against him. Despite this, I think the Collector had a good relationship with the Titan children, and he saw them as real friends when the Collectors were too absorbed in their own work to pay attention to him. This is why the Collector sees King as the ultimate friend. He regards himself as higher than the mortal beings, and King, as he says, is semi-immortal, so somewhere closer to the Collector's level. King's plan is to play into the Collector's desire for friends and to try to get him to see how destructive he is being to people who have their entire existences ruined or destroyed by his fun, though that is something that the Collector is going to have a hard time understanding, as even with the idea of everyone going to the moon not being able to breathe, he insists that they can just hold their breath. Now, if what Lilith said was true, the Collector may only be responsible for the death of King's father, really, and we may learn that he more sacrificed himself in an attempt to imprison the Collector, instead of the Collector killing King's father himself. With that in mind, I could see the Collector getting something of a fresh start by the end of the upcoming finale, one where he can learn to be friends without inflicting his will on people, though of course he now believes King to be betraying him, and that will complicate this journey. This episode ended with really no other plan to defeat the Collector coming into existence, so right now it looks like that this is the best plan they have. However, I think that something will reveal itself in episode 3 of this season, which is of course its finale. This episode ended with the Owl House kids teleporting to the archive room hidden inside the Titan skull, and there I will expect them to find some sort of information that can help them defeat the Collector, perhaps even just imprisoning him. But for more information on that, hit the subscribe button, because we'll be breaking it down in tomorrow's video, which will be my predictions for the series finale of the Owl House. See you guys then.